Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special Thanksgiving edition of Pigskin Thursday. And boy, what an unbelievable show we have for you. We're a couple seconds away from bringing in our Frankly Speaking Sports correspondent and our co-host for tonight's program, Craig Frank. And then about 15 minutes from now, we're going to have just an incredible interview, as we always do. We will be having former 1984 US Olympic gold medalist Ron Brown, who was also the former All-Pro wide receiver for the Los Angeles Rams. So we're going to go ahead and have him joining us as well in a couple of minutes. But before we go ahead and do that, we're going to go ahead and bring in my co-host, Craig Frank. Craig, we want to welcome you back to the show tonight. And boy, I know we got a lot to get to, and happy Thanksgiving to you and yours.
Thank you, Larry, and happy Thanksgiving to you, your family, and all our listeners out there. Wish everybody is safe. Please be safe, and Thanksgiving, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Now, today is going to be an incredible show. Craig and I are going to obviously recap the Monday night game between the Bucs and the Rams. Then we're going to go ahead. We're going to preview also the upcoming game between the Chiefs, who play a similar style of football as the Rams, coming up this Sunday. But before we do that, before we get to our Thursday football stories, I want to start off with some breaking news out of the Tampa Bay area. And for all of you USF fans, some great news. If you didn't happen to get to see it yet, today, the USF men's basketball team went out today, played Florida College in game one of their new season, defeating them 94-84. USF was trailing actually in this game by 4 at half, but then went on a 52-38 run in the second half to give them the win. They were led by Dave Collins, who had 17 points. Justin Brown put in 15, and Jameer Chaplin had 14 as well. One good thing, USF did shoot 52.2% from the field, and they out-rebounded Florida College 41-29, and on the offensive boards, 31-7. This was the first game back, and the reason why we will be talking football today, but this was Alexis Yetna's first game back after a serious knee injury last year, and the coach gave him limited time versus Florida College, where he was 3 of 3 from the field, 2 of 2 from three-pointers, and went ahead and I think played 12 minutes in this game. So we just wanted to make sure we took the time to recognize the USF. For those of you USF fans, if you want more news, more updates on when they do play, when the women's basketball team plays, and a breakdown on this Friday's War on I-4, you can go to Bullseye, the USF platform. It's also ran by Frankly Speaking Sports to get all the latest information. So once again, congratulations, USF. And Craig, it's nice to see them start out with the win this early in the season.
Yeah, it sure is. These first couple of games are really important just to start breeding some confidence, Larry. I feel USF is going to surprise some people this year. They have a bunch of seniors coming back. They're very, very well coached. Coach Gregory's a really good coach, and I think they're very lucky to have him. I expect them to, a lot of people are picking them to be 7th or 8th in the conference. I would not be surprised if they're, sneak up on people, maybe be 4 or 5 in that conference this year. They have a nice out-of-conference schedule. They play LSU. They'll be playing Virginia Tech Saturday night, I believe it is. So they're going to have some chances to really put up their RPI scores come tournament time if they can get some good out-of-conference wins.
Yeah, and as Craig was saying, you can see all of this updated news, obviously, on our USF platform, just to make sure everybody understands. The women's USF basketball team opens up versus Jacksonville at 4 p.m. this Saturday. The men's are in Connecticut. They'll actually be playing URI on Saturday and then Virginia Tech on Sunday, both of them in Connecticut. But for all the latest update and a preview on the entire men's and women's season, go to USF. The group is called Bullseye, and you can get all the latest information. Now we'll get him back to football. And, Craig, we talked Monday night. We did a pregame show. We talked about a lot of different things. And unfortunately, the things that we talked about that needed to be done in order for this team to win did not actually happen. And, of course, the result was a loss by the score of 27-24. And, once again, before we get to, and there's a lot of different things we're going to talk about, but once again, it seems like the defense not only gave up two big defensive plays in this game, but once again, not that we had a lot of penalties in this game, but two what I call very foolish penalties, one by Devin White and one by Shaq Barrett, to actually lead to touchdowns for the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, against these teams like a Los Angeles Rams, which is a high-powered offense, and again this weekend coming up against the Kansas City Chiefs, you can't give any extra downs. Okay, I mean Shaq Barrett went off sides on a critical third down. The Bucs, even though they say they're one of the better defenses in the NFL, they are still very, very soft when it comes to pass coverage, in my opinion. If they don't get that pass rush, it's going to be very, very long night for them. And it was a long night for them. I think it's really, really important. Like I said, you're going to be coming against Patrick Mahomes this week. You really need to be able to keep him and not let him make plays because he wants to get outside, where Goff stayed in the pocket. They didn't get much pressure on Goff, and then they went to that zone defense, and he just picked them apart.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to describe it. When you look at this, we talked about Monday night, and you and I were talking back and forth about how I felt they should switch it up a little bit, maybe not play as much zone, maybe give them an opportunity to play a little bit more man-to-man, play a little bit tighter, and, once again, give credit where credit's due. They did an unbelievable job stopping the running game of the Los Angeles Rams, but that's what they do. Every time they seem to stop and they turn teams into this one-dimensional team, these quarterbacks of all types, Jared Goff, you saw him, came out and literally just had his will out what he wanted to do. And, I will give some credit in one area that I did seem a little bit better to me was that I've been picking on Sean Murphy bunting all year long about this and about that, but I thought in this game, he actually looked better in this game. He was a lot more involved. Yes, he missed a couple tackles, and I want to get into that right now with you. I have never, ever seen a Bucs team that has so much, has missed tackles, and not only missed tackles, but they're also given yak. And you know what a yak is, yards after catch. And these teams seem like when they catch the ball, I don't know if it's a matter of them going to strip the ball too much and not concentrate on the tackle. But, Craig, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a lot of missed tackles in that game.
Yeah, there was Larry. There were ton of missed tackles, and against a team like you said, who averages 12 to 13 yards after the catch at times. Okay, with Robert Brooks and Cooper Kupp, Josh Reynolds. I mean, you just can't do that. Like you said, they stopped the run. They did a great job against the run. I mean, they couldn't get anything going. That's why Goff threw over 40 times. But, if you can't miss tackles like that, especially against a team like this, because they'll burn you, and they did, and when they had to. One play that sticks out to me, Larry, was right before half. Okay, where right before half they threw a quick little out, and they turned it into a field goal that Matt Gay was able to kick, who became very important, as you said he would, later in the game. But missed tackles will kill you every time, and they're not good enough in that secondary to give up those extra yards.
Yeah, and we staying on the defensive side of the ball, like I said, I thought overall, except for this, once again, it seems like quarterbacks continually throughout this year have been picking all the cornerbacks just apart.
I'm sorry, Larry. I lost you there for a second. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it seems like our cornerbacks, the Jamel Deans, the Carlton Davis, and some of the other guys they're bringing in just can't seem to grasp this zone defense down and shut down the passing game of the opponents.
Yeah, there's been a lot of miscommunication. We talked about it last week, or earlier. Excuse me, Monday night we talked about it. Here's the problem, in my opinion. They're not talented enough yet to go man to man, so they're stuck going zone. And there's been a lot of miscommunication in that zone defense. And if they don't get a pass rush, which they really didn't get a great pass rush the other night, it gives Goff so much time, especially a pocket quarterback like that. He can just sit around and look for progressions, and he did that. And that really, really hurt us. And, I mean, they were throwing the ball 15, 20 yards down the field. We didn't give anything deep, but we gave a lot of, mid-range yardage to the Rams, and that set up their scores.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's go to Tom Brady a minute. Let's flip sides, and then we're going to hear from Tom Brady a couple of minutes. But Tom Brady, didn't have a spectacular game. And he threw two interceptions on balls basically that you wouldn't think he would throw. But, everybody keeps talking about Tom Brady, the deep ball, the deep ball, the deep ball. If this guy is having so much issues with the deep ball for whatever reason, I really don't care what the reason is. If it's the system, fine, it's the system. If it's his arm strength deteriorating, fine, it's his arm strength deteriorating. But at the end of the day, if the long ball is not, maybe try it once in a while, but as much as they're trying it, shouldn't they maybe change up the play calling a little bit? And they got the receivers and go to it maybe 5, 10, 15-yard passes instead of going for the home run ball?
Yeah. One thing about Tom Brady was never became the GOAT from throwing the long ball. Tom Brady was the guy who would pick you apart. He would go to his progressions when things weren't open and take advantage of the long ball when it was there. Okay? So if you're going in, or if people think Tom Brady's going to go in and throw the ball long 10, 12 times a game, that means the Bucs are in trouble. What they did earlier, when they started really moving the ball in the second quarter, they threw the ball they got the mismatches with Mike Evans. They hit Cam Brate a bunch of times. Okay? They threw the ball to Antonio Brown. They mixed it up. But Chris Godwin, they mixed it up. Where I think the Bucs are hurting, and it will keep hurting them until they take care of this issue, is their running backs cannot catch the ball out of the backfield.
Absolutely.
And they had, between Ronald Jones, who's never been a great receiver in my opinion, okay? Leonard Fournette had to drop 3 passes. Maybe one was not a great throw, but it should have been caught. And they kind of got away from what was working for them. Those medium passes to Brate and to Gronkowski, and then getting the ball out to Evans and letting him use his athletic skill. I mean, those were the things, and Chris Godwin as well. When they were doing that, they were moving the ball on the Rams, and they were quick decisions by Brady. One thing about Brady also, he's a pocket quarterback. If he gets pressure, okay, consistently, he did some uncharacteristic things. Both his interceptions were terrible interceptions. I think Tom would tell you that. Terrible interceptions where he just threw it up for grabs. And, you can't have – that's not what we expect out of Tom Brady, and I expect him to be better this Sunday. But, if they have to throw the deep ball 10, 12 times a game, they're not going to be in good shape. They need to run the ball and play action. And by Brady's body language the other night, he seemed like he was uncomfortable. He really did.
Yeah, and you got, like you said, Fournette dropped 3 balls on Monday night. 3 simple, and this is something that isn't a one-game situation. This has been going on all year with Leonard Fournette. Why not maybe make a switch? Why not put Shady in there a little bit more? Or I'm not sure what the heck's going on with Keyshawn Vaughn, but they do have guys behind Fournette who are capable of catching the football. Why aren't we seeing that?
Yeah, Vaughn played a limited time earlier in the year, and he caught some balls out of the backfield.
Right.
Like you said, we need to switch it up. If Fournette's not getting it done, if Ronald Jones is, having trouble catching passes out of the backfield, we need to put someone in there because that's an integral part of Brady's game where he dumps it off to the back coming out of the backfield. It's sometimes it becomes a mental thing, but it's something that has to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed real quickly.
Well, let's do this. After the game, you can imagine how disappointed Tom Brady was. Let's go ahead and hear from the GOAT and what he had to say after this game on Monday night.
Popped it over Cam's head. So just a bad read, bad throw, decision, everything. Can't happen.
All right, we'll go to Janelle.
Hey, Tom, I know how much you put into this, and I also know that the deep passes were a big point of emphasis for you going into this week. What types of things were the Rams doing that were making some of those connections more difficult for you downfield?
They did a good job preventing them. They kind of play a defense that makes it tough to hit them. They're not impossible to hit, but they're tight. And the guys did a good job running them. We had a couple shots, but in the end, didn't come up with any.
All right, we're going to go to Eric Hoffman.
Tom, you've come up with so many game-winning drives in the fourth quarter and overtime, Tom. So on a night like this, how disappointed are you in yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's a good word, disappointed, and I have to do a better job. Absolutely.
Okay, we'll go to Rick Stroud.
Tom, are you surprised? I mean, you guys, I know against Carolina it's a different team, right? But you look so efficient. And then just the inconsistency at this point that you're having on offense.
Yeah, that was a tonight was very inefficient. Did not a very good job there in the second half. Defense played great. Kept coming up with huge stops, getting us the ball back. And offensively, we just couldn't make the plays that were necessary to be efficient. And we had plenty of chances. So got to get them fixed.
We'll go to Sarah Walsh.
And that was Tom Brady, obviously disappointed, in his performance after that game, Craig. And what we're going to do is, folks, after we have the great Ron Brown on, we're going to go ahead and after this interview with Ron Brown, we're going to go ahead and, talk about the upcoming game for the Buccaneers versus the Kansas City Chiefs and what they have to do differently in this game in order to prevail and get the W this Sunday. But, let me go ahead and get my good buddy Ron Brown on the phone, and we'll talk about his career and everything in pro football and the Olympics.
Your call has been forwarded to
All right, Ron must be running a little bit late. That does happen sometimes with the time difference. I know he'll give me a call back. Let me go ahead and just shoot him a quick message that we are ready. All right, I do that. I do it all around here. But
Larry, I'd just like to comment. Is Ron waiting?
No, Ron. I'll get Ron. I'll let you know when Ron comes on.
Yeah. I just wanted to expound on what Tom Brady was saying. You know, Tom Brady threw some bad balls Monday night. Okay. But you know what? That's a team loss right there. Okay. They got to block better for Brady. The running game's got to be better. Okay. So, you know, Brady's going to take all the thing, and he made some terrible passes, and he can't do that. He knows better. But they need to collectively as a group play much better.
Yeah, and you know what, Craig? You know, the one thing that I don't like before Ron comes on, and we'll give him a couple of minutes here, but, you know, I'm not a big fan of this, but it seems to me, and I don't know if I'm overanalyzing it or maybe I'm underanalyzing it, but yes, Tom Brady, it's no secret he hasn't been playing the greatest football of, you know, his 20 years in existence. But the one thing I don't like about Bruce Arians is he is so quick to call out Tom Brady or somebody else, yet I haven't heard him once take any accountability for what has been going wrong here from a coaching side of things.
Yeah, adjustments are really important. I don't think the Bucs have made great adjustments. They've made adjustments defensively because in the first half to the second half, they played so much better. So Todd Bowles is making adjustments. I think Brian Leftwich and Bruce Arians need to make adjustments in the second half much better than they have.
Yeah, but I don't know. Sometimes it just seems like the other coaches in the NFL, and I'm not saying Bruce is a bad coach by any means. I know he has a proven track record, but it seems to me from watching some of these games, you look at the McVays, you look at the Sean Paytons, and it seems like their coaching staff is just a step ahead of us when it comes to making adjustments.
Well, understand, these teams have been playing in the same system. I mean, the Rams, for the most part, they're not better than the Bucs talent-wise, and I have stated that. But they're better than the Bucs systematically because they know their system, okay? The Bucs are now learning their system, and it's time for them to put it into second gear and go to that next level in that system, okay? Or teams are going to catch up with you real quickly in this league.
Now, I thought overall, Craig, when you looked at this game, we actually went down in one point where we were out two of our starting offensive linemen in that game. And I thought overall, and I say overall, I'm judging it on a full game performance. I thought once again, Ryan Jensen did spectacular filling in for Ali Marpet. And I thought Shipley, before he got hurt, once again, did another magnificent job.
Yeah, Shipley and Jensen have been a nice combination. Again, and I still think Brady's getting hit too much, okay? They know when they go back where he's going to be. It's that simple. And we're going to see and same with Robert Goff. We knew where Robert Goff was going to be, okay? Excuse me, Jared Goff. I said Robert Goff. Boy, I'm showing my age. Pig Goff. He played defensive end for us back in the 90s. I'm sorry. But you know where they're going to be. They're going to be in the pocket. This Sunday, you're going to have to make sure that you're very disciplined because Patrick Mahomes will go all over the field and he'll make a play when you don't think it's possible for him to make a play. So we're going to see two different types of quarterbacks from Brady and Goff to Patrick Mahomes on Sunday. But no, the offensive line didn't open the hole for Robert Jones, so that doesn't help with the play action. And I think that was the issue. Plus, like I said earlier, you got to have backs who can catch the ball, and that's really, really pertinent for the offense to go.
Yeah. I'm just checking one more time in here.
Your call is
All right. I'm going to just go in right now and just wait a little bit longer, but we're going to continue our show. That way we don't delay it. Craig, I'm reading some of the, people still bad. People are looking at, I'm just looking at some of the comments that will
Yeah,
get.
sure.
Are you reading them as well? Are you getting the same?
Yes, I'm looking. I saw Eric and Tommy
Great,
Powell and Tommy
great.
Lavarone.
Chuck says, if
Chuck.
you look at our buddy Chuck, he talks about Bowles needs to stop playing zone. Thank you so much, Chuck. Let's see if we can get that comment up there. But we talk about, how we should stop playing zone. And that's Chucky's message, similar to what we talked about earlier, where we need to mix it up a little bit, play a little bit of zone, play a little bit of man, kind of confuse the offense a little bit. And like you said earlier, there is no way, maybe a Patrick Mahomes picks you apart or Drew Brees. And I'm not knocking Jared Goff at all, but he's not a guy that should come in here and take our defense and be able to throw at will like he did in Monday night's game.
Yeah, Larry, I think Chuck makes a great point. He needs. I think Todd Bowles wishes he could play more zone, Chuck. I don't think talent-wise they're able to right now. So they have to mix it up. And that's why it's so important that the pass rush comes back because it wasn't as dominant as it's been in other games. I think we have to start from the get-go. We can't just start making adjustments in the second half. We need to get that pass rush going, maybe bring a corner blitz, do something just to keep them on their feet, so that we're not being predictable. And that's a great point. I think if we had the talent to play man, we'd play man a lot more.
Now, Craig, let's stay on the comment line. Got quite a few. And by the way, all of you that are listening to our show tonight, thank you so much for getting involved. This might be one of the smartest ones. Not that any of them are dumb, but when you look at this team, it seems like the defense really isn't doing anything to take the pressure off Tom Brady. If anything, they're enhancing the pressure on Tom Brady. And like our good fan Rob Thompson, the owner and president of Crew Life, said, he goes, let's start to get the D to carry this team, not always have to be TB12.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's a reason they say defense wins championships, okay? And the reason for that is defense controls the tempo. If you let the offense control the tempo, their offense control the tempo, then there's going to be a problem. It's going to be so important for the Buccaneers this Sunday to keep the ball in front of them. Don't let it get behind. You got guys like Kelsey, and we'll get into that later, but you got guys like Terrell Hill. They'll get behind you, and before you know it, it'll be 21-0. Okay? The defense has to come out and let the opponent know they're going to be there all day. Okay? They're going to be there all day. We know where you're going to be, so you better come out and be ready. And you know what? At the beginning of games, the first half, they haven't showed that aggressiveness, except for the Green Bay game, especially starting in the second quarter of that game, where they were totally dominant. So I think it's really, really important that they need to find that identity again. What kind of?
And you know what? If we go over and I'm going by some of these, Sean has a great point here, and it's something I alluded to earlier in the show, is Tom Brady has not had a lot of success throwing the ball long. Actually, I believe on Monday night, Tom Brady on the deep ball was 1 for 9 with 2 interceptions, and he's 3 for 36 so far in the air, throwing past 20 yards. But, all the Sean and Craig, I'll let you piggyback off this. Sean, you have to understand something with some of these throws. We would love to do the short passes. The issue Tom has right now is when we are trying short passes, especially to the running backs in the backfield, they're not catching the ball. And, people don't realize, it may only be a 5-yard catch, a 6-yard catch for 6 yards, but that's still 6 yards towards the first down. And what's happening is that it's pretty much taking the wind out of the sail when you throw a nice, easy ball to your running back on a short play, and he drops the ball because he's catching the ball. He's running with the ball before he catches with the ball. So, in all fairness to Tom Brady, it's a lot easier for a defense to go ahead and defend against you on third down, knowing you got to throw the ball more than 10 yards to get a first down, than it is on second down if you just catch the damn ball and get 6 yards.
Yeah, it's so important. The Bucs have been in so many 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 15s. It's crazy. I mean, don't forget those. You can call them short passes, but they're like running plays if they're executed properly. 3-4 yards at a time, catching the ball out of the backfield. You're at 3rd and 2 instead of 3rd and 10. Makes it so much more different on not only on your quarterback, but on your offensive line too. You can do so many different things. You can play call so many different ways. So it's so important for them to get in short yardage situations instead of 3rd and 10 and 3rd and 15.
1 second. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor, thrill, and most of all a pleasure to introduce to you on the Frankly Speaking Sports Pigskin Thursday Hotline, former 1984 US Olympic gold medalist and former All-Pro wide receiver and kick returner for the Los Angeles Rams. Let's welcome in now Ron Brown. Ron, how you doing today?
I'm fantastic, man. How are you?
Ron, I'm doing good. Thank you so much. Ron, let me ask you this. I want to go back in time a little bit to 1984. I know it was a good year for you. The Olympics. Talk about your track days back there in 1984. And it's one thing to be able to play football and represent a team, and it's another thing to be able to play for your country and represent your country. What was the feeling like to, first of all, let's talk about before the gold medal, just about being able to get out there and know you are racing for the United States of America?
Well, man, honestly, it was a dream come true, though, man. It was one of those kind of situations where, because I was drafted first, and at the time you couldn't be a professional in an amateur sport, it was a great opportunity for me to try to represent my country, man. That was a goal, and as God would have it, though, my dream came true.
Well, and then you go out there and probably with, nothing against you, Ron, but one of my favorite athletes back then in the 80s growing up was always Carl Lewis, who was a part of that relay team with you. Talk about how special it was to not only represent your country, but then be able to stand there and be recognized for being the best, not in the U.S., but the best in the world.
Oh yeah, man, it was fantastic though, man. Yeah, and Carl Lewis is he was a unique kind of guy though. He was, going after Jesse Owens 4 gold medals at that time, and we all were rooting for him to accomplish that feat. And he topped it off with the 4x100 relay, and not only did we win that and get a gold medal, we also set a world record that day though. So it was a great day for us.
Yeah, and it's one that I'll never forget. And I talk to people now. You went ahead, you started concentrating on, track. You win the gold medal, and then all of a sudden, it's back to football. And my question for you is, when you started doing the Olympics, I mean, you obviously were competing in track before the Olympics, but did you ever envision that one day you would actually play in the NFL?
I did though, man. That was one of my main dreams. Actually, though, the Olympics actually came later on, more towards my senior year, when I started seeing the competition and I started running faster. But the football thing, going into college, went to Arizona State on a football and track scholarship, my dream always was to be able to play in the NFL.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I'm glad it was because you definitely had an unbelievable career. Let me ask you this. I learned a lot about track in the 80s, obviously with the Olympics and everything, and throughout the years. And you were on a relay team. And for those, listeners out there that don't understand track as much, this is not, there's individual races where people race and they really only have to concentrate on what they have to do. But in track, when you're dealing with relays, you're working with the team, not just to run as fast as you can, but there's a lot that each person depends on from another, just like the handoff of the baton, a nice, easy transition. I mean, in a lot of ways, in the relay racing, there's a lot like football where you have to count on other guys just as much as yourself in order for the ending result to be a win.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And we didn't get a whole lot of time to practice together like that either, though, because we all were working on our individual events. But it came together, though, man. We had, the team that we had with Sam Grady started, handed off to me, and I handed off to Calvin Smith, to Carl Lewis. It was a fantastic handoff. We all, we got through those exchanges very well.
Yeah, and I'm just putting something up here, so there we go. Oh, okay. Yeah, and then in 1985, let's talk about that. I mean, you talk about a year. You just, there's nothing like showing off, Ron. You win a gold medal, and then you have to come in the NFL. You came in 84, but in 85, you're returning kicks. I think that year, don't quote me, you probably know better than me, but in 1 year, I think you returned 3 kickoffs for a touchdown in 1985 alone. And, you were an all-pro wide receiver. You made the Pro Bowl. I mean, talk about that year and how fulfilling that was, not to just be able to come out and make an NFL team, but to come out and to be the best among all players in the National Football League.
Yeah, well, that was a great year for us, too, though. I think that going into that 85-86 season where we played the Chicago Bears to go to the Super Bowl, that was a great year for us. So we had Eric Dickerson in the backfield, so we were Eric Dickerson right, Eric Dickerson left. And that was the year that he also broke Jim Brown's record in rushing that year. So, we had a good group of guys. We all got along well together. It was like a family.
Yeah,
so that takes the work out of the game and just makes it fun.
Yeah, so let me ask you, talking about fun, and you got to be honest with me, Ron. I know that Los Angeles team. I mean, I followed the Rams years before you even played with it. The Vince Ferragamos, who I think you might have played your first year with. I played with Vinny. Yes. Yeah. Yes, the Ron Jessies and the Lawrence McCutcheons, James Harris, who I believe was the first black quarterback to ever play in the National Football League, and he played for the Rams. So I'm very familiar with the Rams. But I have to ask you this question. How many of the guys, in a joking way, challenged you to a race when you became a Ram?
We had a few because we had some burners on the team. Leroy Irvin was fast, Eric Dickerson was fast, and they all would challenge me every now and then. Though I would just turn it down though because I didn't want to take a chance on them beating me and then hurt my feelings.
Now, how great was Eric Dickerson?
He's a great athlete and a great person.
Yeah, because I watched him in his day, and he just looked unbelievable all the time in that Rams uniform. Just and of course in college as well. But I mean, you had a front seat. Well, not always. You were on the field, but you know what I'm saying. Just play with this guy.
Look at a lot of his touchdowns. You see me right in the end zone with him, though. So a lot of times we had to block for him, and you see me running right beside him on a few of his touchdowns, especially when he broke the record.
So did you like to hit somebody when you were a wide receiver?
We do whatever was necessary, though. I can't say that was my favorite pastime, though, but we do whatever's necessary to win the game.
So talk about kick returning. And they've talked about it a lot, and they've changed the game a lot, of course, since you played in the 80s. They kind of made it a lot safer, what they think is a lot safer. I mean, what was it like knowing you're catching a ball? I mean, it can't be. Sure, people may say it look easy on TV, but it can't be the easiest thing to catch a ball and know that you're going to get creamed sooner or later.
Yeah, well, you try to avoid that part of it. The second part you try to avoid. You try to play either half the field and not all of it, though. So that was one of the keys to kick return. You set yourself up to where you're only going to be dealing with 4 or 5 guys, and I always ask my guys, let 1 or 2 of them go. Let me get past them, and then you guys just pick up the other ones.
Yeah, now when you stopped playing, Ron, and I know you were still very young when you stopped playing, was it because you wanted to go back into doing track on a professional level, or did you just come up with the idea? Because I know there's a lot of guys that have played, look at Barry Sanders, he retired at a very young age as well. Was it you going back to track that took you out of the game, or did you
Actually, I broke my foot, and it just never healed right. So I wasn't able to, I didn't have the speed there, and I definitely couldn't stop. So it was just one of those kind of fluke accidents to where my foot just never recovered.
So okay, that because I've heard mixed stories that some people say, hey, you want to get back into doing track, and then I heard another thing said you got injured, so I wasn't sure exactly what happened there. So
yeah.
Talk about the playoffs. You made the playoff. You played in 9 playoff games. When you're a player obviously in the NFL, and I talked to a lot of different former players and current players, and everybody has a goal at the beginning of the year. That's obvious. You want to make the Super Bowl and get to the Super Bowl and win it. Obviously, only one team can do that. But how fulfilling is it for a player who plays their butts off the entire year to be rewarded with an opportunity to play in the playoffs?
Yeah, that's step one to getting to the Super Bowl. You got to get to the playoffs. So, we pride ourselves on trying to win a division and then get to the playoffs, and then try to see how far we could go and see if we could be the last team to get to the Super Bowl. So, unfortunately, I never had an opportunity to play in the Super Bowl, but we've had some good teams, and some of our teams got dismantled early on, like when they traded Dickerson to Indianapolis, and so on and so forth. Though, so when a team gets dismantled like that, though, it's really hard to kind of start over. So, and then the careers are not that long. You're only talking about a 3-year average career. So it's hard to kind of readjust those teams. It's always good when you can keep a dynasty together.
Yeah, I can imagine that. So, you make the playoffs. Unfortunately, you don't win. After you get out of doing what you're doing, I mean, are you doing anything like any type of coaching or anything like that? Did you get into any of that after you were done playing, or did you just pretty much keep a low profile?
No low profile, though. We do what we can in our communities to kind of help our communities as much as we can. As a matter of fact, I'm here now talking to one of my partners. We have a drug rehab program that we do, and one of our programs is called Teen Savers. And we're going to put a program together to kind of help some of these teens under these unnatural conditions that they're living under right now. The stress is high for everybody, but some of our kids are making some bad choices. We want to help them make better choices.
Yeah, well, that's great. Before I, wrap it up with you, we are with my co-host Craig Frank here. Craig, any questions you want to ask Ron?
Yes. Hi, Mr. Brown. Really enjoyed watching you in the Olympics and in the NFL. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Thank you.
My question for you is, the rules for wide receivers and defensive backs have changed so much over the years. Okay. One, do you like the rule changes? Obviously, being a wide receiver, you'd probably like it better that the D-backs can't touch as much as they used to. And how would have that changed your game? And how many more touchdowns would you have scored?
Oh my goodness! The way right now with the defensive backs, the way that they can't touch you and everything's a pass interference, it would be. I don't know what the numbers would look like. Receivers definitely got a 10-to-1 advantage.
Yeah. Now, was there a guy that you went up against, Ron, that you just would want to show up? Did you ever play that team where you go, I want this guy to guard me. I want to show him up and shut him up this game?
Yeah, not so much though, but we all, coming through colleges, and then, sometimes some of your teammates get traded, so you always have friends throughout the league, and then, you always, you talk before the game, and then you want to definitely, have a victory, be in that W column at the end of the day, at the end of the fourth quarter. But, it was a good camaraderie, both with, other teammates and my own. So we just had fun out there.
And Larry, I had one other question, Larry, if I may.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Brown, in your opinion, have kickoff returners or punt returners, have they become too soft? You don't seem to have the same type of returners that you've had in the past, like yourself, a Devin Hester, a Deion Sanders. They wanted that ball. They wanted to take off. A lot of these guys now, you see a lot of fair catches when there's open field.
Yeah, the game has changed a little bit from that, but then you have to give credit to the punters too now, and the kickers. That ball has a lot of hang time, and these guys are getting down the field a lot faster, a lot bigger, a lot faster, though. So sometimes that fair catch I'm not going to say you're softer, though. Sometimes I'm thinking you might be a little smarter.
Yeah. Now, we talked earlier this week, you and myself, Ron, on the phone. It was on Monday. Obviously, your Rams played the Bucs. You got to give credit where credit.
Did you see that game?
Oh, yeah. I was waiting for you to rub it in. But, obviously, Jared Goff looked terrific. There wasn't much of a running game from the Rams, but I thought overall Goff was looked like a surgeon out there with his, precise precision, just throwing the ball. I mean, your Rams won a big game. They're leading their division. What are you looking for the rest of the way from your Los Angeles Rams?
I was very impressed with their performance against Tampa Bay. I think that if they continue to perform like that and they do start putting a running game together, they're going to be a team to look for come February. Yeah,
and they definitely have and I've always said this, one of the better coaching staffs in the NFL.
Absolutely. I mean, he is absolutely one of the best coaches I've ever seen around. Other than Coach Robinson. Coach Robinson was one of those kind of coaches too. Pete Carroll's one of those kind of coaches too, where they're a players coach. Players want to perform for them. They're good grounding guys. They're smart guys. They call good plays, and the success is there.
Yeah, did you enjoy playing with Coach Robinson?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Good. Well, listen, my friend, I want to first of all thank you so very much for giving us the opportunity to speak with you on Frankly Speaking Sports. Do me a favor, be safe, and have a great Thanksgiving.
You guys do the same.
All right. Have a good night, my friend. Thank you. That was the great Ron Brown, 1984 Olympics, and also all-pro wide receiver kick returner for the Los Angeles Rams. And guys, don't worry about that noise in front. We are doing this virtual. We're not at the office, so if you hear a little noise in the background, that's either my co-host or his dog. I can't tell which one it is. But, but Craig, you listen to Ron Brown, and we talk to a lot of these athletes from the past. And, and that's why I always tell people it's so hard to compare decades to decades because the game has become so different. Up, are you there?
I'm sorry, Larry.
Okay. I said the game. It just goes to show you. We've been watching football, for decades now, and it's so hard to compare a player from today to a player back then because, like you said, the game has changed so drastically since the 80s.
Yeah, that's true. There's been so many changes. There's been so many ways that the athletes have changed over the years. The way they train, it's an all-year sport for them. There's just so many variables. The different nutritional plans that they do. They're so much bigger, stronger. I mean, we see it with linemen running down quarterbacks. I mean, you'd never see in the day I played, you 150 pounds, you were on the front line. Okay. Now you're not playing if you're 150 pounds this game. So it's changed so much. And the athlete has changed. They're just bigger, stronger, and better.
Yeah, and we're going to get back right now to the game, but for those of you just joining us, we want to first of all thank Ron Brown for coming on with us, taking time out of his busy schedule. He actually took a break at his job site so he could come on and join us on this Thanksgiving Eve. Hope you're all enjoying the show. We broke down some of the Bucs' woes in the first half segment of the show. We got to talk to Ron, and now we're going to turn to a little bit to this upcoming weekend versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And when you talk about it not getting easier, that's probably the best way to describe this, because this is a Kansas City Chiefs team that is similar in a lot of ways to the Los Angeles Rams. They don't use as much play action, but the thing about this team, Craig, the Chiefs, is they are beatable. They do not have a very good offense. Now, don't get me wrong. They're returning 19 of 22 players, or 20 of 22 players from last year's roster. A very solid team. But this is a team that Tom Brady could pick apart if he is on.
Yeah. First of all, I apologize for my dog. I just took the whole box of bones and put it in there, and as you notice, there's no more barking because she's eating all the bones. So I apologize for the dog barking in the background. More importantly, Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs go as Patrick Mahomes goes. There ain't no secret. Offensively, they're loaded. They are so loaded. They have their tight end, Travis Kelce, has almost as many. He's third in the NFL in receiving yards. He's a tight end. Okay, you have Tyrell Hill, you have O'Hare Edwards, the running back, the rookie. Yeah. They are just loaded, and you have Patrick Mahomes. He makes plays that aren't supposed to be made. He will never give up on a play. Defensively, if you're not responsible and keep him in the pocket and let him get outside, that's what he wants to do. So this week, defensively, the Bucs are going to have to be really, really responsible, stay in their gaps, make sure that they don't lose Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be the key, because if he gets outside, it gives time for his receivers to get open.
Yeah, and this is a team, the Kansas City Chiefs, in their last two games, they're actually giving up 31 points a game. So that just tells you from a defensive side of the ball how one-dimensional this team is. And this is a team that almost lost a couple weeks. It might have been the Carolina, if I'm correct, that played them very, very tough. The Raiders played them very tough, as you know, last week. The last 2 weeks, they've given up 31 and 31. So, like I said, as big as this offense, how powerful Kelce and Mahomes and Clyde Edwards and Hill and all these guys are, they still give you an opportunity to stay in ball games. The way they win ball games is by outscoring the other teams. And the key question is going to be, can the Buccaneers play toe-to-toe with them from an offensive standpoint?
Yeah, what I feel the Bucs have to do is the Bucs will have to stay patient. This is going to be a game where their backs are going to have to catch the ball out of the backfield. Kansas City does not give many balls 20 yards or more down the field. You have to work for everything. You're going to have to use your tight ends. They're going to have to be patient. Their defensive line goes as Chris Jones goes. He's the main guy. They also have back there at safety Tyrann Mathieu, okay, Matau. I'm sorry, and so they got a couple of players there, but the Bucs are going to have to be very, very patient. Can they outscore them? Yeah, they're going to have to, okay, because I see a 37-34 Buck win. They're due to win a primetime game. They're going to have to score in the 30s. with all the talent we have, they should be able to and I said that in the Rams game too. But the bottom line is they need to get off early. They need to protect Brady, and they need to be able to convert on 3rd and shorts. They can't be 3rd and 10 because then all those defensive linemen will pin back their ears and come right at Brady. And they know where to find him. He's no Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be right in that pocket most 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, and as much as I talk about the cornerbacks definitely needing to get better on covering from a defensive side of the football, the one thing is if the Bucs bring their A game here on defense, it could be a very, very good game for the Bucs. And what I mean by that is, first of all, our front seven has done exceptional. They have 32 sacks already, this Tampa Bay defense, on the year, and they have 19 takeaways, and 14 of those being interceptions. So they do make some big plays at some big times, but the problem with the team is they have to rely too much on those big plays, whereas if they just would come out, like you said, get off to a quick start. What did I say about Monday's night game? We need to score first. Guess what we did not do? We didn't score first again. Now, take that with a grain of salt. If you're only going to score 7 points a game, you ain't going to win. But at the end of the day, you have to get some momentum going instead of always playing catch-up football.
Yeah, Larry, no doubt about it. But I feel it is imperative that the Bucs make Patrick Mahomes make quick decisions. They're going to have to blitz some people. They're going to have to send people from all different directions and not let him get comfortable. The longer he has the ball, the more dangerous he is. It's usually the other way around, okay? They'll have to keep their responsibilities, not let him get outside and run the ball. And it's really important for the offense to have sustained drives to let the defense stay off the field and run some clock.
Yeah, and it is a known fact that if you pressure Mahomes, he will succumb to you. I mean, he will succumb to that defense, and the defense will end up making some plays. The only problem with the Buccaneers that I see is if you're putting a lot of pressure on this guy who is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, if they're not getting to him quick enough and letting him get rid of the football when they do that, somebody downfield is going to burn us with our cornerbacks.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I mean, there's no secret what the KC's going to do. Okay, they're going to throw the ball to Travis Kelce. They're going to throw the ball to Hill. They're going to throw the ball out of the backfield. I think it's important that our linebackers and Levante David, Devin White, they're going to have much better drops in pass coverage because Kelce's going to go right behind him. And like I said, he is a dangerous receiver. And for being such a big man, he also gets a lot of yards after catch. I think that's going to be the key to the game.
Yeah, and let's not forget just a couple of weeks ago that they even got stronger on offense, the Kansas City Chiefs, by adding Le'Veon Bell, who scored his first touchdown of the season last game. So now you got a two-set back with, as long as Edwards is healthy this game and he's playing, to go with Le'Veon Bell, who can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's shown that when he was with the Steelers. So like you said, both offenses. I mean, let's not underestimate our offense either. We have just as powerful, if not as powerful, as an offense as they did. But I think where this game is won and lost is going to be the line of scrimmage. How well our defensive line can handle their offensive line and how well our offensive line can handle that.
Yeah, the line of scrimmage usually is where it's determined. The Chiefs are going to be playing without their tackle, Michael Schwartz. He's out. He's out this week. He's their tackle, so it's going to be really important for the Bucs to try to, to take advantage of that. Also, Larry, I think one point that's really, really important in this game is Andy Reid is a great, great coach and makes great adjustments. Okay, I think it's really important. It's going to be a chess match between Andy Reid and Todd Bowles. and whoever can keep the tempo on their side, I think that will be the team that wins. And the Bucs are going to have to make adjustments and make them on the fly. They can't wait till halftime always to make those adjustments. They need to play 4 quarters against this team. They can't play 2 quarters like they did against the Giants.
Let me ask you a weird question from a coaching perspective. You know, you've seen Ronald Jones a couple times be taken out of games earlier in the season when he's fumbled the football, and they've taken him out, put Fournette in, kind of benched him. Why don't they take Fournette out of the game when he drops passes and put somebody else in there?
Well, I think what you've seen from Fournette is Fournette was injured. He came back, okay? And I think they're trying to get his confidence back. Like I said, right now we're in a playoff hunt, okay? Bottom line is every game to them is a playoff moving forward.
Yes.
It's that tight in the NFL. It's that tight in the NFC, okay? And it's thrown off whack because you know the team from the NFL East is going to wind up with 6 wins and make the playoffs, okay? And get a home game, no less, okay? So it is imperative for the Bucs. They have to beat a contending team for confidence reasons, okay, and for seeding reasons. So this game to me is really, really, really important for them because there's a big difference of being 8-4 and 7-5 going into the bye.
And not only that, but, you know, even if, let's just say, getting into the – right now, my concern is this. Okay, no matter what happens Sunday, obviously, like you said, 8-4 is definitely better than 7-5. But it's not the team with the best record going into the playoffs. It's the team playing the best football when you go into the playoffs. And we've seen that before. A great example I mentioned was the year that the Giants beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. They were a wild card team, but they were playing the best football when the playoffs started. And my point I'm making is that, you know, whatever the issues are now, whatever the twerks and things you got to improve, or what Bruce Arians wants to call continuity or continuality, whatever the word he wants to use, has to be done and corrected quickly because you're not going to have a second chance when you get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's the bottom line, and that's a great point. And we've seen it year after year. We've seen it with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Of course, this year they are, you know, it's not normal for the Steelers to be 10-0, obviously. They've never been 10-0, but they're usually right around, you know, right now 7-5, and this is the year they're not gonna make the playoffs, and then they go on their notorious run, and they play well. They're known to play well towards the end of the season as you get going. But to be able to play well during the season as the weather gets bad, it gets cold, it gets rainy, it gets snowy, you got to run the ball. You got to mix it up, and the Bucs have every opportunity and the talent to do so.
Yeah, and isn't that Tom Brady's, thing that they start the season off slow? In New England when he was playing there, New England would lose their games, in the first 8 games of the season, and then the next 8 games they would go on a tear and they would play great the rest of the year. Because that was always the secret of beating New England in previous years is you want to play them early in the season because that's when they're the most beatable. And hopefully the same format works out here with Tom Brady. But, at the end of the day, I think the Buc fans just need to take a deep breath, relax. Your team is right in the thick of the playoff hunt. And the other thing is realize it's not one player who makes or breaks a team. It's 22 guys plus everybody that's on the sideline. It's not as Tom Brady goes, the Bucs go. Yes, Tom Brady's a big part of us winning, but we've seen games where Tom Brady plays well and the defense doesn't. It has to be a combined, balanced team effort on both sides of the ball where Tom Brady has sustained drives. Like you said, they convert on third downs, keep that defense off the field, keep them fresh so when they get back in there, they're fired up and they can make those big plays.
Yeah, team game. I mean, it's that simple. It's a team game. And, if a guy doesn't run his route correctly, doesn't pick up his block, if a back doesn't pick up the blitz, I mean, one player can mess up the whole thing. And the Bucs have had those little things where they've had breakdowns in coverage, or they had breakdowns on a block, or a guy running the wrong route, or last game Brady throwing the ball where the guy wasn't. This isn't a one-man team. This is going to be a group effort. I mean, that's just the way football is, bottom line.
Yep. Well, what we're going to do in a couple of moments is I'm going to do my picks here. But we're going to go ahead and, first of all, thank Craig Frank for being with us tonight and being our co-host tonight on our special episode of Pigskin Thursday. Craig, want to thank you so very much for coming back on today and recapping and previewing the game for Monday night and the upcoming game Sunday. Let's go get a W.
Hey, go Bucs. Happy and healthy Thanksgiving to everybody.
All right, you too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry.
That was Craig Frank, our Frankly Speaking Sports correspondent, on with us. And, I told you before we go tonight, we are definitely going to do our picks. So don't you worry about that. I'm just trying to see. Yep, there we go. So I'm going to make this a little larger here, folks, so that everybody can go ahead and see. We're going to do our picks. I'm pulling my picks up on my phone right now, so it'll be a little bit easier. All right. There we go. There we go. All right, let's make this a little larger so that everybody at home can go ahead and see these picks. Okay. Let me do one more. Okay, we'll do that afterwards. Okay, the first game that we're going to talk about is Thursday. It's Houston at Detroit. Houston at Detroit. Detroit is plus 2.5 points, which means the Houston Texans are favored. I am picking Detroit on Thanksgiving to go ahead and beat the Houston Texans. Then you got Washington at Dallas. And amazingly, folks, this is actually for first place in the division. I believe if the Redskins win this game, they are in first place. Washington versus Dallas, but I just think Dallas with that offense, I don't care who's quarterbacking, is just going to be a little too tough for the Washington Redskins. I'm taking Dallas to cover the 3 points. Now, for those of you that did not hear, Pittsburgh, Baltimore's at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is favored by 4.5 points. That game will not be played tomorrow night. I repeat, that game will not be played tomorrow night. It has been moved to Sunday at 1 p.m. But nevertheless, no matter when they're playing, I think the Steelers remain undefeated and go 11-0. Then you got Miami at the New York Jets. I don't think there's any question. They said Tua will be starting in this game, but it's the New York Jets. Not a very good team. Doesn't really care whether they win or lose. So I am picking the Dolphins to cover the 7 points. Then you got Arizona at New England. Arizona is favored by 2.5 points. They'll cover that, and they'll beat the New England Patriots. Then it's Cincinnati. Let's see who that is. I'm sorry. Did I say Carolina at Minnesota? Minnesota favored by 4.5. They will beat Carolina. Minnesota, Cousins, and Dalvin Cook, and this entire Minnesota team, even though I think they lost last week, is playing some very, very good football. Then you got Cleveland at Jacksonville, and, Jacksonville going with the new quarterback, but I think Cleveland will be too tough. Cleveland will cover the 6.5 points, and they will beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that's some of our picks. Let's keep moving right along here. So bear with me, folks, while I go ahead and all right, let's get the second part of this up. All right, let's make it a little bit bigger here. All right, and then we go to the Tennessee versus Indianapolis. This was the game a couple of weeks ago where Tennessee lost to Indy to give them first place in the division. You know, it's real tough for a team like Indianapolis to win 2 conference games versus the same team, even though it's in Indy, even though, I know Indy is favored by 4 points. I'm picking the Tennessee Titans to go ahead and even up the season series at 1 game apiece. Then you got New York versus Cincinnati, the Giants. I'll tell you what, the Giants are one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. Watch out for these New York Giants. Balance of the year, my good buddy who lives way up in New Jersey, Dan Morrissey, be happy to hear me say that I may even be picking this team right now at this point of the season to win that division. I think right now they are the best team in that NFC East, so I am taking the Giants. Then you got the Chargers at the Bills. The Bills are favored by 5.5 points. Give Justin Herbert credit, having a terrific year, but I think Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are just a little too much in Buffalo on the East Coast for the Chargers, and the Buffalo Bills will win. Then you got the Las Vegas Raiders at the Atlanta Falcons. Raiders played a real tough game last week. Raiders gave the Kansas City Chiefs a run for their money, and I think they will win convincingly over the Atlanta Falcons this weekend. Then San Francisco versus the Rams. I mean, San Francisco's just in shambles right now. This whole team has been injured all year. Just an unfortunate situation for Johnny Lynch there in San Francisco. I'm picking the Rams over San Francisco, covering the 7 points. New Orleans at Denver. New Orleans, possibly the best team, one of the best teams in the NFC, probably favored right now if you had to pick a team out of the NFC to go to the Super Bowl. They are playing Denver. They're favored by 6. They will win by that. All right, and we go to our last page now. Bear with me while we put that up, folks. Let's go ahead and put this down. And then let's go ahead and get that last page up. There we go. All right. Then you got Kansas City at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is 3-point underdog in this game. This is a game that Tampa Bay has to really come out and show if they have a character of being a championship team or if they still have another year before they're going to have that ability to do so. Right now, Tom Brady been very inconsistent with these receivers. I just don't know how much more you're going to be listening to Bruce Arians saying, oh, it just takes time. It just takes time. Takes time. Okay, the time is now. The time is now. The time is now. You are 7-4, 11 games in. You have a bye week, week 13. You need to win out till the bye right now. And that starts with Kansas City. This defense, who has 32 sacks and 19 takeaways this year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, have to play that type of game this Sunday if they are going to win. Number 2, they have to establish the running game. Ronald Jones is going to have to put together a 100-yard game. Ronald Jones rushes for 100 yards. I'll tell you right now, they win. He doesn't, it's going to be a long day. And I think Ronald Jones is very capable of doing that. And number 2, these darn running backs have to catch the ball out of the backfield. We've said that over and over and over tonight. Myself, Craig, Frank, we've both said it. You are not going to win if you continue to drop passes that should be completed. You have the receiving core. You need to get the backs on the same page. At the end of the day, this is not a very good defensive Kansas City team. I do believe it's going to be high scoring. This could be a game that is 37-31, Tampa Bay prevailing at home at Ray J in Tampa. And remember, that is a 4 o'clock game, I believe, a 4:25 game for you Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans. And then the last two games here, Chicago at Green Bay, Sunday Night Football. Green Bay is favored by 8.5. Green Bay wins this game. Although I think it'll be a lot closer than people give credit for, I just don't think Chicago is as good as a team as they started the year at. And they're starting to come back down to earth. So I think Chicago loses to Green Bay in Green Bay. And then the Monday Night Football game, Seattle Seahawks versus the Philadelphia Eagles, probably the worst actually the worst first place team in the whole NFL in the NFC East. I think they get destroyed by the Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson this Monday night. And Seattle will definitely cover the 5.5 point spread. So, ladies and gentlemen, lots and lots of stuff we went over tonight with you. We had lots and lots of information for you. So hopefully there's our picks. The points are on the bottom right now. All right, let's get that off. I'm just moving some stuff around, folks. And I do want to remind you of a couple of things that have not been announced yet. So if you're still online, you're going to get the first of this. Remember, there will be no Frankly Speaking Sports tomorrow due to the holiday. So everybody, please have a great Thanksgiving. Have a safe Thanksgiving. Very important that you do. Then coming back Monday, we already got guests lined up everywhere. Monday, former Major League pitcher, pitched for the New York Yankees. Monday, Todd Stottlemyre will be with us. Our show will start at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That's right. Former Major League pitcher Todd Stottlemyre will be joining us. Then for all of you, which it just came down in the pipe, and I'm very happy that on our show Bullseye on Tuesday night, we have an unbelievable guest, and we may have two unbelievable guests. But as of now, we have one unbelievable guest for you Tuesday night on our Bullseye platform. We have joining us, this individual is called by many people the greatest basketball player to ever play at the University of South Florida, and he will be joining us this Tuesday night on Bullseye at 9 p.m. Charlie Bradley will be joining us. So if any of you out there know anything about USF basketball and have followed them for a while, everybody knows who Charlie Bradley is, one of the best, if not the best, USF basketball player of all time, will be joining us on Bullseye on Tuesday night. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. I also want to thank our very special guest, Ron Brown, for joining us, 1984 gold medal U.S. Olympics and former All-Pro, Pro Bowler for the Los Angeles Rams, wide receiver, kick returner, just did it all over there. So we want to thank him. Everybody, once again, have a great, great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you back on Frankly Speaking Sports this Monday. Go Bulls!